I've scored perfectly on the SAT math section of back-to-back SATs, and in today's video, I'll be doing a walkthrough of both math sections from SAT Practice Test 2 of the digital SAT. With all that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get started with question 1 from section 1. So we have the line graph shows the percent of cars for sale at a used car lot on a given day by model year. I see on my y-axis I have percent of cars for sale, and on my x-axis I have model year. For what model year is the percent of cars for sale the smallest? I see that's going to be in the year 2014, so my answer there would be answer choice C. Moving on to question number 2. For a particular machine that produces beads, 29 out of every 100 beads it produces have a defect. A bead produced by the machine will be selected at random. So that's always important whenever you're dealing with probability, is know from where are you taking this selection, right? In this case, it's being selected at random. What is the probability of selecting a bead that has a defect? Well, we know that 29 out of every 100 beads has a defect. We are selecting one at random. Therefore, the probability is 29 over 100 that the bead we select will have a defect. Going on to question number 3. Okay, and I'm gonna have to switch sides for my screen sometimes. So when that happens, it'll just take a couple of seconds. So don't worry, the video will continue. As you can see, we have question 3 right here. We have in the figure, line M is parallel to line N, and line T intersects both lines. What is the value of X? Okay, so what we see is we have corresponding angles between this angle 33 and this angle right here. Okay, so this angle right here will also be 33 degrees. From there, it's really easy because we know we have 180 degrees here. So all we have to do is 180 degrees minus that 33 degrees to get the value of X, which will be 147. So our answer there would be D. Okay, moving on to question number 4. And now's a great time to go ahead and hit that like button. Okay, if you're enjoying this video, or if you're new and you're prepping for the digital SAT, go ahead and press that subscribe button. Okay, I'll be producing more content for the digital SAT soon, so please go ahead and subscribe. Question 4 states, what is the y-intercept of the graph shown? Well, we know our y-intercept is where X is 0, which we see is right here. So we have X is 0 and Y is 8. Just keep in mind, A and B are going to both be wrong immediately because we know that X isn't 0 in them. And then C and D, we've got X is 0. D has Y as the value of 8. So our answer there has to be answer choice D. Moving on to question number 5. The total cost, f of X in dollars, to lease a car for 36 months from a particular car dealership is given by f of X equals 36X plus 1,000, where X is the monthly payment in dollars. What is the total cost to lease a car when the monthly payment is $400? So in this case, we're looking for f of 400 since we know X represents the monthly payment amount. So we would have 36 times 400 plus 1,000. So we can go ahead and put that in our calculator. 36 times 400 plus 1,000, and that's going to give us 15,400, which would be answer choice C. Moving on to question number 6. Okay, and now's a great time to go ahead and drop a comment and let me know what other videos you guys want me to make to help you prepare for the digital SAT or other tests. Okay, so here we have question 6. Each side of a square has a length of 45. So we know side length is 45. What is the perimeter of the square? Well, we know our perimeter for a square is 4 times the side length. We know that our side lengths are 45. Therefore, our perimeter must be 180. Okay, so our answer there will be 180. Question number 7. What is the positive solution to the given equation? Okay, so in this case, what I'm going to look to do is get all my X values on one side. So I'll start by multiplying both sides by X plus 6. So multiply both sides by X plus 6. Okay, from here, I'll go ahead and set it equal to 0. So I'll subtract 55 from both sides. I'll also go ahead and distribute this X to the X and to the 6. That'll give me X squared plus 6X minus 55 is equal to 0. From here, I'll go ahead and factor. Okay, keep in mind that we need the positive solution to the given equation. So not the negative solution, the positive one. So for factoring this out, I'm looking for numbers that multiply to negative 55 that sum to 6. What I would think of there would be 11 and 5. So we would have to have X plus 11 to get that positive 6. And then we'd have to have that X minus 5. From there, if you were to FOIL this out, you'd see we have plus 11X minus 5X. That'll give us that plus 6X. And then we have 11 times negative 5, so negative 55. And then we obviously will get that X squared value as well. As you can see, we have 2 possible solutions, but only one will be positive. The negative solution is X is negative 11, and the positive solution is X is 5. Only one of these is the correct answer here. It has to be 5 because we are told what is the positive solution. So 5 is the only answer here. Question number 8. An object travels at a constant speed of 12 centimeters per second. Okay, so we can go ahead and write that 12 centimeters per second. At this speed, what is the time in seconds it would take for the object to travel 108 centimeters? This is a distance question. So we ultimately need our distance to equal 108 centimeters. We have to multiply by some time, which we'll call t seconds. Okay, now in order to solve for t, we have to divide both sides by 12. So we are going to end up with 108 centimeters. So 108 centimeters divided by 12 centimeters per second. Now, as you can see, our centimeters will cancel and we'll be left with seconds. Okay, so you can use units to check your work as you go on the SAT math section. It's something I do recommend doing. So in this case, we're going to end up with 108 over 12, which is equal to 9. So 9 seconds is how long it would take, 9 seconds. So our answer there would be A. As you can see, it asks us for that value in seconds. Okay, moving on to question number 9. Now would be a great time to go ahead and hit that notification bell so you get notified as I put out more content to help you prepare for the digital SAT. Here's question number 9. The list gives values of data sets X and Y. Which statement correctly compares the mean of data set X and the mean of data set Y? Okay, well, what I immediately see is that we've got the first 4 numbers in each of these data sets. So because of that, really the only difference is this number 27 in dataset Y. Now, obviously number 27 is greater than even the maximum of dataset X. So the mean of dataset Y is going to have to be greater than the mean of dataset X. So we have option A, the mean of dataset X is greater than the mean of dataset Y. We know that's not true. We have option B, the mean of dataset X is less than the mean of dataset Y. We know that that is true because this 27 value is greater than the mean of dataset X. And we know it's greater than the mean of dataset X without even having to calculate the mean of dataset X because we know it's greater than the maximum of dataset X. So B has to be our answer there. Okay, moving on to question number 10. We've got a rocket contained 467,000 kilograms of propellant before launch. Exactly 21 seconds after launch, 362,105 kilograms of the propellant remained. Okay, remained. So we have how much it starts with, how much remains. On average, approximately how much propellant in kilograms did the rocket burn each second after launch? Well, let's first come up with how much it burned in this first 21 seconds. So we've got 467, 000 minus the amount that's left. So we have amount it starts with, subtract how much is left. That's how much gets burned in this 21 seconds. So all we got to do now is put this in our calculator. So let's go ahead and do that. We got 467 000 minus 362,105, and we divide all of that by 21. Okay. I misput something. There we go. Divide by 21. All right, there we go. 4995. Okay, so that's going to equal 4995. So our answer there will be answer choice A. Moving on to number 11 now. We've got if 4x plus 2 is equal to 12, what is the value of 16x plus 8? Okay, immediately what jumps out to me is that if I multiply 4x plus 2 by 4, then that's going to get me my 16x plus 8. So this is going to be sort of a question where you can use the shortcut of this proportion of it being multiplied by 4 to get to 16x plus 8. Okay, that means that 12, we take that times 4, and that will give us 48 for the value of 16x plus 8. So if you are on the SAT math section and you can look for proportions like this, it should save you a lot of time, because if you didn't see this ratio of multiplying by 4, ultimately what you would do is you'd have to solve for the value of x using this equation and then plug it back in here to get the value of 16x plus 8. And that would take much longer than just recognizing 4x plus 2 multiplied by 4, that's 16x plus 8. 12 times 4 is 48. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead and move on to question number 12. Okay, this is a great time to share this video. Okay, if you can post it to your Snapchat story, that'd be awesome. Okay, would really, really appreciate that. Here's question 12. An object is kicked from a platform. The equation h equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 7t plus 9 represents the situation where h is the height of the object above the ground in meters t seconds after it is kicked. Which number represents the height in meters from which the object was kicked? Okay, well, we know that when it's kicked, right, or before it's kicked, right, when time is 0, that's the height that it's at, okay, from which the object, or okay, which number represents the height in meters from which it's kicked? Yeah, so that's where time is 0. So we go ahead and put zeros there, okay, and we see that what's left is 9. All right, so ultimately the height that it is from which it's kicked is going to be 9. So our answer would be D. Okay, question number 13, we've got the equation defines the function f. For what value of x does f of x reach its minimum? Key thing here, we're not looking for the minimum value of f of x, where we're looking for the value of x where f of x reaches its minimum. Those are two different things. Question like this, so you could try to factor this. In my opinion, this looks pretty difficult to factor, or at least there's potential for mistakes. So since this is the digital SAT, this is a prime example of a question I would use Desmos on. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up Desmos, and I'm gonna put this in. So one thing I will say about using the graphing calculator on the SAT math section is you really need to be careful about making sure you are inputting the correct equation. So what I recommend doing is after you type it in, make sure that it is what the actual equation is, because if you make a mistake putting it in and then you start interpreting the graph, you're gonna get the question wrong. So as I can see here, the question asks 4x squared minus 50x plus 126. I have 4x squared minus 50x plus 126, so we're good to go. Okay, from here, We're asked for what value of x does f of x reach its minimum. So we're going to go down to find where it reaches its minimum. We see that's at 6.25 and negative 30.25. We're asked for the value of x, so that'd be 6.25. Okay, so 6.25, let me try to write, there we go. 6.25 is our answer there. Okay, and now I'll go ahead and hide Desmos so we can move on to our next question. Okay, we've got question number 14. A small business owner budgets $2,200 to purchase candles. Owner must purchase a minimum of 200 candles. Okay, so minimum of 200 candles. So that means we must have greater than or equal to that. To maintain the discounted pricing, if the owner pays $4.90 per candle to purchase small candles. Okay, so this is back in our cost. We know his budget is $2,200, so he's probably not going to exceed that. So it needs to be less than or equal to. And then 4.9 per candle to purchase small candles. We'll represent that with an S. And $11.60 per candle to purchase large candles. So plus 11.6 L. We'll use L to represent large candles. 11.6 L. What is the maximum number of large candles the owner can purchase? So maximum number of large candles to stay within the budget and maintain the discounted pricing. Okay, so we're solving for L. Keep in mind this 200 is the total number of candles. So that'll be S plus L. Now, we need to solve for the number of large candles. So we need to substitute in for this value of S. So to do that, we'll have 200 minus L. It's gonna be greater than or equal to S. Now we can substitute in for S. So let's go ahead and do that. So it'll be 4.9 times S, which we can represent as 200 minus L. Keep in mind, we still have this plus 11.6 L. All right, from here, let's go ahead and distribute this 4.9 to the 200 and to the negative L. So I'll go 4.9 times 200, and that'll give me 980. So I'll erase this. Now I've got 2,200 must be greater than or equal to 980. And then we got minus 4.9 L plus 11.6 L. Okay, that can simplify down to, I believe, 6.7, but I'll quickly check on my calculator. 11.6 minus 4.9, that'll be 6.7. Yep, so we'll have 6.7 L plus 6.7 L. From here, we'll subtract 980 from both sides. That should leave us with 1220 over here, and then 6.7 L. Okay, from here, we'll divide both sides by 6.7 to get what L must be less than or equal to. So 1220 divided by 6.7, and that'll give us 182.09. 182.09. So from there, we have to keep in mind that L has to be less than or equal to that, and we're looking for the maximum number. And also keep in mind that we can't have a portion of a candle. It has to be a whole number. So our answer there has got to be 182 for the value of L. Okay, moving on to question 15. Okay, now's a great time to share this to your Instagram story to help your classmates prepare for the digital SAT. Okay, so go ahead and share this video to your Instagram story. All right, question number 15. In the linear function f of 0 is 8. Okay, if I've got f of 0, I know that's my y-intercept. Y-intercept is 8. F of 1 is 12. Which equation defines f? Always check if there's any sort of transformation going on. So for example, shifting left, right, up, down. In this case, there's not, so that's good. Okay, y-intercept's 8. That means I can get rid of b. It means I can get rid of c. Next thing, the only difference between a and d is slope. I see I go over by 1, and I go up by 4, so slope's gonna be 4 over 1. Therefore, A is incorrect and D is our correct answer. Going on to number 16 now. We've got a function f of w is equal to 6w squared, gives the area of a rectangle in square feet. If its width is w feet and its length is 6 times its width, so in other words, 6w, which of the following is the best interpretation if f of 14 is equal to 1176? Okay, we know that this right here is going to be our area. We know that f of 14 means that w is 14, so its width is 14. We have option A, if the width of the rectangle is 14 feet. Okay, so w being 14, that part is true. Second part is then the area of the rectangle is 1176. We know that is true as well, so A would be our correct answer there. I'm going to move on to question 17. Okay, now is a great time to comment and let me know what other videos you want me to make. Or comment and tell me your goal score for the SAT and what date you are taking it. Okay, here's question 17. We got circle shown, it's got center O, circumference 144 pi. If you don't know what circumference is, that is this whole arc, the entire arc of the circle is 144 pi. Okay, so that's what circumference means. The diameters are pi PR, QS. Length of arc PS is twice the length of arc PQ. So I'll represent arc PQ as, we'll use X for the variable. And we know that arc, it says, what does it say? Arc PS. Okay, so arc PS then it says is 2x, okay, because it's twice the length of arc PQ. Keep in mind that arc QR will also be 2x and arc RS will be x, okay? So now we're asked for the length of arc QR. All right, well, what we can see here is that since our circumference is 144 pi, we know that the arc S to Q would be half of 144 pi, so that'd be 72 pi. And then we know that SP, which is the same as QR, which is what we're trying to solve for, is 2/3 of that, right? It's 2x over 2x plus x, right? If you were to write this out, it'd be 2x over 2x plus x, or in other words, 2x over 3x, which is 2/3. So since it's 2/3 of that 72 pi, all we got to do is take that 2/3, multiply it by 72 pi, and that'll give us 48 pi as the value of PS, which is the same as the value of QR. Okay, so our answer there would be B. All right, moving on to 18 now. We've got a company that provides whale watching tours, takes groups of 21 people at a time. Company's revenue is $80 per adult. I'll write that as 80A. $60 per child. I'll write that as plus 60C. If the company's revenue for one group consisting of adults and children was $14.40, how many people in the group were children? So we want to solve for C. Okay, so we know that, or I guess this 1440 actually should be up here, equals 1440. All right, we also know that they took 21 people, so 21 is equal to the number of adults plus the number of children. In this case, we want to solve for the number of children, which means that we're going to substitute something in for the value of A. We know that 21 minus C is going to equal A, so we'll go ahead and substitute that in. Okay, so I'll erase this. So now we got 80 times 21 minus C plus 60C equals 1440. All right, from here, let's go ahead and run it. So we got 80 times 21. I believe that that is 1680, but I'll quick check. 80 times 21. Yep, 1680. Minus 80C plus 60C. That's going to simplify down into negative 20C. That's going to equal 1440 still. From there, let's go ahead and subtract 1680 from both sides. So that's 1440 minus 1680. That's going to leave us with negative 240. So that's going to equal negative 240. From there, we go ahead and isolate C by dividing both sides by negative 20. So we got negative 240 over negative 20. And that will give us positive 12 for the number of children. So our answer there would be C. From there, we can go move on to question number 19. And now is a great time to go ahead and send a super thanks if this video is helpful. If you could send a super thanks, that'd be awesome. It's a great way to say thank you for this video. All right, question number 19. The function h is defined by h of x is equal to 4x plus 28. The graph of y equals h of x in the xy plane has an x-intercept at a0 and a y-intercept at 0b, where a and b are constant. What's the value of a plus b? Okay, keep in mind that you are answering the value of a plus b, not the value of a, not the value of b. My guess is that one of these options will be the value of a or the value of b, or maybe one option is a, one option is b, but you always need to pay attention to what you're asked to answer with, and that's the value of a plus b. So it's not the value of b, not the value of a, the value of a plus b. Make sure you pay attention to that, because some people are really good at math and they'll get the value of a and they'll answer whatever the value of a is, but that's not what the actual answer is. So they would have done all that work just to miss the simple addition step and get it wrong. So pay attention to that anytime you see that on the SAT. All right, so you got function h defined by 4x plus 28. Let's go ahead and solve for a and b to answer this. So we'll start by solving for a. Okay, so a is going to be where y is 0. So where y is 0, we'd have 0 is equal to 4x plus 28. We'll go ahead and subtract 28 from both sides. Negative 28 equals 4x. From there, divide both sides by 4. That's going to give us x is equal to negative 28 over 4, which is going to equal negative 7, which is going to equal the value then of a. So a is negative 7. Now we're going to have the value of b. B is going to be where x is 0. So that would just be 0 times 4, which is 0 plus 28. So b is just 28. From there, we just add these together. So that'd be negative 7 plus 28, which is going to give us a value of 21. So our answer there would be answer choice A. Moving on to question number 20 now. We've got one of the factors of 2x cubed plus 42x squared plus 208x is x plus b, where b is a positive constant. Okay, so positive, pay attention to that. What is the smallest possible value of b? Okay, smallest possible value, that's a key there as well. All right, so this looks like it will be difficult to factor, and we have access to Desmos on the digital SAT, so that is what we are going to use here. So let me pull back up Desmos again. Okay, here we have Desmos again, and we are going to go ahead and put in our new equation. On the digital SAT, you can keep old equations and you don't have to reset it every time. I would actually recommend that you try to keep old ones in unless it really messes with you. This is something that's sort of a personal preference. My recommendation is if you're good at, okay, I guess one caveat would maybe be if you know what? Okay, yeah, I'm going to say it. I don't know if you're colorblind. I don't know if you're able to distinguish like the different colors because Desmos does color code the graphs. So if you are colorblind, you should probably just reset it every time unless you are able to sort of tell the difference. I don't know. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just trying to help. But if you're not colorblind, you can probably use the different colors to tell. But anyways, the point is, if you can tell the difference, try to keep them in there as long as it's still easy for you to tell the difference. But if you're someone who gets confused easily, then you can just reset it. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and reset it just so it's easier for you guys to see. But anyways, this equation is 2x cubed. Okay, and then we've got plus 42x squared. So plus, oh, whoa. Okay, so we got 2x cubed, there we go, plus 42x squared. My keyboard's really laggy right now. And then we've got plus 208x. Okay, my keyboard is like not working. I wonder if my keyboard's out of battery actually. Let's see. Okay, plus 208x. Okay, I think my keyboard is running out of battery, but it looks like we got it in. So, all right, we got 2x cubed plus 42x squared plus 208x. I always recommend if you are using Desmos to check your equation just to make sure you did put it in correctly. Oh, I am missing something. Looks like I don't have it incorrect. Okay, I need to have that minus, or that plus 208x. There we go. Plus 208x. I was wondering why it didn't look right because it looked just like a straight line. Okay, so here we go. Now we've got it correctly input in Desmos. Okay, we can triple check it. 2x cubed plus 42x squared plus 208x. Yep, okay, it looks good. And this is really because my keyboard is like dead right now. So it's like catching some keys and not catching others, which is why it was so messed up. But anyways, ultimately, in this case, we are looking for the smallest possible value of b in x plus b equals 0. And stop looking at the graph a minute and look over to the left of your screen. I'm going to write out something. Okay. Notice how we need the value of x plus, we got to solve for b and we have x plus b equals 0 as one of the factors. That means that x is going to equal negative b. Okay. So, and b is a positive constant. Since b is a positive constant, we need to look at the negative x-intercepts, which we see that we have at negative 8 and 0, and then at negative 13 and 0. This one here at 0, 0 wouldn't make sense since we have x plus b. So we need the smallest positive constant. Okay, in this case, that would be this negative 8 because that's going to mean that the value of b is positive 8, right? Because we would have x plus 8 is equal to 0, and then we get that 0 of x equals negative 8, which we see on Desmos. Okay, so our actual answer here is going to be 8, okay, because that's the value of b, and that's what we're asked to answer with. Okay, so the answer is 8. Okay, and let me go ahead and hide Desmos so that you guys can clearly see that we have 8 circled there. Okay, so 8 is the answer. I'll write that a little bit bigger. Okay, 8 is the answer. All right, going on to 21 now. Okay, we've got y equals negative 1.5, and then we got y equals x squared plus 8x plus a. In the given system of equations, a is a positive constant. The system has exactly one distinct real solution. What's the value of a? I'll quickly touch on distinct real solutions. So this deals with b squared minus 4ac. If b squared minus 4ac is positive, then that means there are going to be 2 real solutions. If b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, that means that there is going to be 1 real solution, which is what we have in this question. That if b squared minus 4ac is negative, then you're going to have 0 real solutions. Okay, I wanted to quickly touch on that. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what's the value of b, a, and c? This deals with quadratics that are set equal to 0. So an example would be x squared plus 8x plus some constant, right? And I probably should have shown you the values of a, b, and c in that example, but I'll show you them up here with this this problem. See, there we go. Okay, now we're back to the pen. All right, so we got, what's the value of a? We got 1 real solution, so we're going to be setting it equal to 0. In order to do that, we'll take this negative 1.5, drop it down for the value of y. Then we got to add it to both sides. So that would give us x squared plus 8x plus a, and then we have to add on 1.5 as well. All right, so from here, let's go ahead and call c equal to a plus 1.5. because this is just going to make it easier. So if I ever have something like, some variable plus some constant, and I'm using b squared minus 4ac, then what I'm going to look to do is to just use, call c whatever that value is, and then use c. So x squared plus 8x plus c is equal to 0. In this situation, our a value would be 1, our b value would be 8, and our c value is just going to be c. So we got b squared, which is 8 squared. 8 squared is going to give us 64. And we'll have minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c. So minus 4c equals 0. From here, really easy to solve. Add 4c to each side. So 4c is equal to 64. Divide both sides by 4. C is going to equal 64 over 4, which is 16. So c is 16. Now from there, we've got c is 16. So 16 is equal to a plus 1.5. We subtract 1.5 from both sides. We get 0 here. 16 minus 1.5 is going to leave us with 14.5 is equal to a. So 14.5 is equal to a, and our answer is 14.5 for the value of a. So 14.5. Going on to question number 22. Now is a great time to go ahead and hit that notification bell if you want to get notified as I put out more videos to help you prepare for the digital SAT. Okay, also make sure to like the video if you have not already. And with that being said, let's go and get started with question number 22. Okay, I know you can't see answer choice D right now, but I'll scroll down as we need to. You got 22, function f is given. Which table of values represents y equals f of x minus 3? All right, so we've got a transformation here. We are transforming our original f of x down by 3 units, okay? So we're moving it down 3 units. This is important because anytime you have any sort of transforming something up, down, left, right on the SAT, you need to pay really close attention to it. In this case, I see I've got my table. I'm going to quickly look at all the answer choices. We got all of them having the same, x values here. Okay, so that's good. It'll make our lives easier. Looks like the y values differ in all of them as well. So that's good. Also, I see that we are given all of this in factored form. So this is important because we know that f of x will be 0 where we have -6, -5, and 4, which are all of our x values here. So what that ultimately means then is since that would be 0, this would all equal out to -3, right? Since we have this -3 in the transformation. So since these all have the same x values, the y values all should just be -3. So that's going to be answer choice B. Okay, so that makes it really easy since it was already in factored form and all of the x values were just the zeros. Okay, sweet. So there's 22. Let's go ahead and go on to 23. For the function q, the value of q of x decreases by 45%. Okay, so this is going to be exponential. For every increase in the value of x by 1, that's nice that it's just increments of 1. If q of 0 is 14, so that's our initial value 14, which means you can get rid of a and b. Which equation defines q? Okay, so our initial value is 14, so c and d look good for that. D would be increasing. We know we're decreasing by 45%. Okay, decreasing by 45% means our growth factor would be 0.55, so c would be our answer there. We can go ahead and move on to 24 now. Okay, moving on to 24. All right, there we go. So 24. Graph of y equals f of x plus 14 is shown. Okay, so we're dealing with another transformation. Okay, let me actually zoom out so you can see this a little bit better, see all the answer choices. Okay, let's see. There we go. All right. Graph of y equals f of x plus 14 is shown. Which equation defines the function f? All right, so a little bit of a weird setup here. So we have the transformation is what's actually shown here, and then we have to back into the original function f. So our transformation in this graph is it's up 14. So f of x would be down 14. So let's go down by 14. So we're going from 2. So we'd have to end at -12 as the y-intercept. So -12 as the y-intercept. All of these answer choices are in slope-intercept form, so that's great. They all also have the same slope. So all we got to do is compare their y-intercepts. We know our y-intercept should be at -12. So B, C, and D would all be wrong, and A would be our correct answer there. Going over to 25 now. And if you're enjoying this content, give a super thanks. I would really appreciate it. And I'd really appreciate it. So that being said, 25 now. We've got side lengths of right triangle RST are given. Triangle RST is similar to triangle UVW. Here, let me zoom in again. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that a little bit better. All right, there you go. So side lengths RST are, triangle RST is similar to triangle UVW, where S corresponds to V, T corresponds to W. Okay, so let's just quick write this out. So S corresponds to V, that's good. T corresponds to W. All right, so it's just in the order, that's good. What is the value of the tangent W? All right, well, tangent W would just be the same as the tangent T. So I'm just going to write we need tangent T, tangent of T. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and draw this out. If you're dealing with triangles or circles questions on the SAT, I recommend drawing them out because it's really, really, really helpful. So definitely do that. Okay, so we know that we've got R, S, T. We know RS is 20, ST is 48, and then our hypotenuse is going to be 52. From here, we need the tangent of T. We know our tangent, we'll use SOHCAHTOA. Our tangent is our opposite over our adjacent, so that'd be 20 over our adjacent, which is 48. Okay, so that'd be 20 over 48. From there, that is not one of the answer choices, so we're gonna have to simplify. Looks like we can divide both of these by 4, and that will give us 5 over 12. So we see 5 over 12, that'll be answer choice B. So B would be our answer there for 25. Moving on to number 26. And now is a great time to go ahead and share my channel to your Instagram story. If you have not yet, it would be very, very appreciated. And here we got question number 26. Also, if you guys in the comments want to let me know about if things need to be zoomed in more, zoomed in less, that'd be helpful. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with 26. 1 gallon of paint will cover 220 square feet of a surface. Okay, so we got 220 square feet. A room has a total wall area of W square feet. Which equation represents the total amount of paint P in gallons needed to paint the walls of the room twice? Okay, so that's a key component here. We got to paint the walls of the room twice. All right, well, we know that 1 gallon is going to cover 220 square feet. So we got 220 square feet per gallon. The next thing that we have is the number of gallons, right? So the number of gallons we are representing as P, so P in gallons. So we can multiply this by the variable P in gallons. So I'll just write P, where G is just representing gallons. It's not a variable. And we know that that's going to have to equal the total amount that we have to paint, which is going to be the total wall area W times 2, since we have to paint it twice, so equals 2W. So and that's 2W square feet, right? Because that's also area. Okay, so this isn't very neatly written, but it will do the job. So let me go ahead and, I guess I'll just rewrite it to make it a little bit neater. Square feet per gallon. I'll write square feet as SF. Square feet per gallon multiplied by P gallons. And then that's going to equal our 2W SF for square feet. Okay, so from here, all we got to do now is get this in terms of P. Okay, so to get this in terms of P, we'll go ahead and divide both sides by, well, I want to point something out real quick. The reason I put units down on most of the questions that involve units is because it's a great way to check your initial setup and check your work at the end as well. So if you take a look at this question, you're rearranging variables, which means if you don't get it set up right, you're going to get the question wrong. Because if you don't have the correct initial equation, you're just going to get it wrong. There's no other way to put it. So as you can see here, our gallons would cancel. Okay, our gallons would cancel, and we'd be left with square feet equals square feet. Okay, so that makes sense. Square feet equals square feet. So that's great. So I want to point that out. That's a way you can check that your setup is correct. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead and solve this for P now. So from here, we're going to divide both sides by 220, and that will give us P gallons is going to equal 2W square feet over 220 square feet, or I'm sorry, over 220 square feet per gallon. So square feet per gallon. As you can see, your square feet cancel both here. Okay, you're left with gallons. That's great. Now from here, let's go and simplify this down. So we have 2 and 210. We can simplify that down to 1 and 110. Okay, and then since it's 1, we can just represent that as W. Right? And now our square feet are going to cancel, right? And then we're obviously just left with gallons. Okay, so as you can see, gallons equal gallons. That's good. And we got W over 110, so our answer is going to be A. Okay, so you can use units to check your work. So just want to point that out. Anyways, moving on to our next question, which is going to be question 27. So this is the last question for this section, but there's a whole nother section, so don't leave till we're finished because I still want you guys to keep learning. So we got question 27. And once again, let me know on the Zoom if this is good or not. If you want me more zoomed in, less zoomed in, just let me know. Question 27, number A is 110% greater than B. So number A is 210% greater than number B. So that, or I'm sorry, is 110% greater than number B. So A is equal to 2.1 times B, since it's 110% greater than number B. It's not 110% of B. It's 110% greater than number B. And then we have the number B is, so B is 90% less than 47. So well, if it's 90% less, it's the same as saying it's 10% of 47. So we can write that as 0.1 times 47, which pretty simple math there. That's going to be 4.7. So now we have the value of B. Really easy to go ahead and plug in 2.1 now times 4.7. We can put that in our calculator. So 2.1 times 4.7. And that's going to give us 9.87. So that'll equal 9.87. So 9.87 is the value of A. Always make sure that you're answering with what you're asked to answer with, which in this case is just the value of A. So our answer there is 9.87. Now let's go ahead and move on to section number 2. Section number 2. Okay, and if you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you are notified when I give you new content to study. All right, question number 1. There are 55 students in Spanish Club. A sample of the Spanish Club students was selected at random and asked whether they intend to enroll in a new study program. 20% responded they intend to enroll in the study program. Based on the survey, which of the following is the best estimate of the total number of Spanish Club students who intend to enroll in the study program? One thing I want to point out here, always make sure you're paying attention to whether it's that they intend to do something or they do not intend to do something. And I mean this sort of in like a generic sense, right? Because sometimes the SAT will give you something that says, 20% of people will do, X. Or they may also say 20% of people will not do X. And then they might ask you for, the opposite of whatever it was. So just always pay attention to questions or words like not, and usually they'll be underlined on the SAT, but I just want to point that out. In this case, it's a very straightforward question, but it won't always be. Okay, in this case, it's 20% say they intend to enroll, estimate the number who estimate how many you think will are estimated to enroll, right? So it's really easy. It's just 55 times 0.2 in this case. That's going to give us 11. So our answer there will be A. All right, so let's go ahead and keep on rolling. We got question number 2. Jay walks at a speed of 3 miles per hour and runs at a speed of 5 miles per hour. So 3 W for walks plus 5 R for runs. Walks for W hours, runs for R hours for a combined total of 14 miles. So equals 14 miles. Which equation represents a situation? This one's super simple. 3W plus 5R equals 14. Okay, so the rate, 3 miles per hour times the amount of hours that he's walking, and then same thing for running. Okay, moving on to question number 3. And now is a great time to go ahead and share my channel to your Pinterest, because why not Pinterest? We haven't asked you to shout me out on Pinterest yet. Let's go ahead and shout me out on Pinterest, because why not? All right, question number 3. Scatterplot shows relationship between two variables, x and y. A line of best fit is also shown. Which of the following equations best represents the line of best fit shown? All right, well, I'm going to check if I have 0, 0 for my x and y's there. I see I do. Y-intercept looks like it's right around 3, and then I've got a positive slope. Okay, C and D both have negative y-intercept, so I'll get rid of them. Options A and B have both the y-intercept of 2.8, which is roughly correct. And then we've got different slopes, but we know our slope's got to be positive, so we can get rid of B. Our answer there will be A. So we can go ahead and move on to question number 4 now. Okay, so switching over to question number 4. Okay, and once again, try to let me know if the zoom is good, or if you guys want less zoom, more zoom, just let me know in the comments for future videos. Question 4, graph of y equals f of x is shown in the xy plane. What is the value of f of 0? F of 0 is our y-intercept. It is where the value of x is 0. We see our y-intercept is going to be at the value 3. Okay, so our value for f of 0 will be 3, which we see is going to be answer choice D. All right, moving on to question number 5 now, and I'll zoom in here so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, which expression is equivalent to, and then we've got all these exponents and variables where m, q, and z are positive. All right, so when you're multiplying with the same base, so for example, m4 times m to the first, which we have up here, you're going to sum the exponents. So end up with m to the 5, and then with q, you've got q to the 4 times q to the 5. Well, that's going to equal q to the 9th. You're going to sum these exponents. Okay, and then you have z to the negative 1, z to the negative 1, and then z to the 3rd. You're going to sum them. 3 plus negative 1 is z squared. Okay, so you're going to end up with m to the 5 and q to the 9 and z squared, which is answer choice B. All right, moving on to question number 6. And if you haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and drop a like on the video to help the YouTube algorithm. All right, so we got question number 6. What is the median of the data shown? Okay, so median, that's going to be the middle number. So we start with our minimum, then our maximum, then our minimum, then our maximum, then our minimum, then our maximum, minimum, maximum, and we are left with our median. In this case, it's only one number since we had an odd total number of numbers. So our answer there is going to be 79. Now, keep in mind, if we had, let's say we had an even number and our two middle numbers were, let's just say 79 and 80. Actually, I don't want to use numbers from here because I want people to get confused. Let me just give a different example. Let's say that we had a data set of 4, 5, 7, and 9, right? We would get rid of this one and get rid of this one. We'd be left with 5 and 7. Our median on the SAT would be 5 plus 7 over 2, which is equal to 6. So in that case, our median would be 6. So I just wanted to show you that, but in this case, it's a very simplistic question. Our answer there is going to be 79. Moving on to question number 7. What value of x is the solution to the given equation? We'll just go ahead and subtract 40 from both sides. That's going to give us x is equal to 55. Okay, so in this case, we're just asked to answer the value of x. Our answer there would be 55. Going on to question number 8, solution to the given system of equations is xy. What's the value of x plus y? Always pay attention to what you're asked to answer with. In this case, that's the value of x plus y. And if you ever see stacked equations, look to add or subtract the bottom equation from the top to get your answer faster. Sometimes you'll have to multiply your top or your bottom equation to do that. But in this case, it's pretty straightforward. In this case, what we can do to get the value of x plus y is just sum these together. Okay, when we do that, we have 5x minus 4x, which will leave us with x. And then we have plus y, so x plus y is going to equal 15 minus 2, which is 13. So x plus y is 13. And as you can see, we didn't have to calculate the value of x or the value of y. We were just able to get the value of x plus y. So there is a trick that you should really, really, really use on the SAT math section and try to get a little bit of practice in with that trick because it will save you a ton of time. Okay, it's really important to know that one. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to question number 9. Okay, we've got given function g models the number of gallons of gas that remain from a full gas tank in a car after driving m miles. According to the model, about how many gallons of gasoline are used to drive each mile. Okay, well, g of m is how much gas remains. So presumably 12.1, that is how much gas we start with, and this is how much gas we lose for every mile we drive. Okay, so we want to know how many gallons of gasoline are used to drive each mile. Okay, that's pretty simple. That's just 0.05. All right, so answer there is A. Okay, 12.1 is how much gas we start with. I don't know how you would even get C and D. Okay, the answer here is going to obviously be answer choice A. We go ahead and move on to question number 10. Got given equation relates the positive numbers B, X, and Y, which equation correctly expresses X in terms of B and Y. So in this case, we just need to reformat this to get the value of X. All right, so to solve for X here, let's go ahead and multiply both sides by Y. So we're going to end up with Y times 1, which is just y over 7b. From there, we got to divide both sides by 11 to isolate x. So divide both sides by 11. 11 times 7 is going to give us 77. So we have 77b in our denominator. And then our numerator, we have y, and that's all equal to x. Okay, so if we look at our answer choices, we see that that's going to be answer choice C. So C will be our correct answer there. Let's go ahead and move on to question number 11. Okay, now is a great time to go ahead and share to your Snapchat story if you have not, or maybe just send it to a couple friends on Snapchat. Okay, but I would really, really appreciate it if you guys can share these videos. It helps me a lot. Here's question 11. The graphs of the given equations in the xy plane intersect at the point xy. What is a possible value of x? All right, well, let's find where they intersect. In this case, we have stacked equations, but we're not really looking to add or subtract. We're looking for substitution in this case. Let's go ahead and plug in that 76 for y. We're going to end up with 76 is equal to x squared minus 5. We need a possible value of x. Let's go ahead and set this equal to 0 by subtracting 76 from both sides. Or actually, let's go ahead and add 5 to both sides. Let's go ahead and add 5 to both sides. Add 5. That's going to give us 81 is equal to x squared. We take the square root of both sides. That's going to give us x is equal to plus or minus 9. And the reason it's plus or minus 9 is because it's x squared, right? 9 squared is 81, and so is negative 9 squared. So therefore, answer here would be answer choice B. All right. Going on to question number 12. Got y is greater than 14, and we've got 4x plus y is less than 18. Point x53 is a solution to the system of inequalities in the xy plane. Which of the following could be the value of x? As you can see, if you plugged in this 53 for y, it's obviously greater than 14, so it's satisfying that first one. Let's go ahead and see what the value of x is to satisfy the second one. We've got 53 in for y, so we're going to have 4x plus 53 must be less than 18. We go ahead and subtract 53 from both sides. That is going to leave us with 35, which will be negative since we're subtracting 53. So negative 35 must be greater than 4x. From there, we divide both sides by 4. We see that x must be less than negative 35 over 4. That's roughly negative 9, but it's actually a little bit greater than negative 9, right? Because it's negative like 8.75 is what that would be, I believe. Yeah, negative 8.75. So since we have to be less than that, we have to be more negative, which would be answer choice A. None of these other answers are more negative than negative 8.75. So our answer there's got to be answer choice A. So now we can go and move on to question number 13. And now's a great time to go ahead and drop a comment and let me know what videos you want me to make next. And let me know when you're taking the SAT and what your goal score is. All right, here's question number 13. Out of 300 seeds that were planted, 80% sprouted. How many of these seeds sprouted? This one's really, really easy. We just take that 300, we multiply by 0.8. Since 80% of the seeds sprouted, we multiply that by the total number of seeds, right? And that's going to give us that 240. Things to watch out for on questions like these would be if they said like 80% of seeds did not sprout and then asked you how many of the seeds sprouted. So basically what I talked about earlier where the, having like the one of two options, it did something or it did not do something. And usually that'll be underlined, but you still want to pay attention on the off chance maybe it's not. All right, anyways, moving on to number 14, function f is defined by f of x equals 4x. For what value of x does f of x equal 8? In that case, we would just set this up as 8 is equal to 4x. Solve for x by dividing both sides by 4. 8 over 4 is equal to 2. So 2 would be our answer for the value of x at which f of x is equal to 8. And as you can see, we're only asked to answer the value of x, not x plus anything or x minus anything or anything like that. Going on to question number 15, which expression is equivalent to 2. And then we got this division question where x is greater than 7. Now, keep in mind here that if you ever see that you have two factors like this and you have an addition or subtraction of some sort of fraction, you're probably going to be looking to get this factor out of your denominator as well. So in this case, we can look to do that. We know that 2x minus 14, we could also rewrite that as x minus 7 times 2, right? Because we get that 2x, we get that minus 14. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm actually going to write sort of this whole thing out so I can do this more neatly and show you more clearly what's going on in this question. So let's go ahead and rewrite this all out. Okay, and the way I'm going to write this now is going to be 2x minus 7 and then 2x minus 7. Okay, so now what we just wrote down is the same as what is written up here. All we have done is we factored the denominator and then we wrote it out. And since it's an addition, since it's in this case subtraction, but if it's addition or subtraction, you can split it up like this. So as you can see, it's much easier to look at. So from here, we can go ahead and cancel out our x minus 7s in both of these. And now it's really easy to go ahead and write that we have 8x minus 3 all over 2. And keep in mind that that is equal to what we have up top, which is that 8x over 2 minus 3 over 2. Okay, these are equivalent ways of writing this. All right, now from here, we look at option A. We see that that is incorrect. We look at option B. That's what we have here, so that'll be correct. Okay, I can quick show you C and D and show you why those are wrong as well. If you look at C and D, those are just like, I guess I was going to say I can show you how those are wrong, but it would take me time to actually go through and show you why they're wrong. So I'm not going to do that. I'll just show you why this is correct and how you can get to the right answer. But yeah, these are just obviously not right because we know that this is right. So anyways, moving on to question number 16. Okay, question 16. So now is a great time, if you have not yet, to go ahead and turn on the notification bell. Okay, just turn it on. Why not get notified on how to improve on the digital SAT? What's the downside? I don't see any. Do you? Here's question 16. Line P is defined by 2y plus 18x equals 9. Line R is perpendicular to line P. Okay, this is important. If you ever see parallel, perpendicular, always pay attention to that. Also make sure that you look at when you're dealing with with two different lines, because this happens pretty often where they'll say, line P and line R, pick and choose your variables, whether it's line Q, whatever. And then they'll have it be perpendicular, parallel, some sort of transformation, up, down, left, right. So always pay attention to that. What's the slope of line R? Okay, so not the slope of line P, but the slope of line R. And it's different because line P is perpendicular. So let's first talk about perpendicular slopes. Okay, if a slope is perpendicular, that means it's the negative reciprocal. So I'll go ahead and show you this by first calculating the slope of line P. So line P is in standard linear form. That's where you have a coefficient in front of your y plus coefficient in front of your x, right? And then that's going to be set equal to some constant. So standard linear form, you can get the slope from m equals negative a over b, where a is the coefficient in front of x and b is the coefficient in front of y. So in this case, for line P, so I'll write for line P, that's going to be negative 18 over 2, which is equal to negative 9. Which is equal to negative 9. Now from here, we need to get our slope of line R. Well, that's got to be the negative reciprocal. So since our slope of line P is negative, our slope for line R must be positive. And then we have to flip the fraction. So in this case, it was 9 over 1. So our new one would be 1 over 9. Okay, so our new slope would be 1 over 9, and our answer there would be C. Okay, and if you wanted to check this, you could check it by putting it in Desmos. You could also check it by converting it into slope-intercept form. So I'll just quickly show you how you can do that, right? If you have 2y plus 18x equals 9, you could then have 2y, you subtract 18x from both sides, so minus 18x plus 9. Divide both sides by 2, you're going to get y is equal to negative 9x for your slope. So as you can see, got the right slope there. And then that'd be plus 9 over 2. So that's another way to get to the slope, but using the standard linear form is a little bit shorter. But if you're not comfortable using that, you can also just convert it into slope-intercept form. And then obviously you still need to take the negative reciprocal. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to question number 17. Okay, so this one is a lot of text. Thankfully, it still fits in the screen. So we got 17. Given function f models the number of coupons a company sent to their customers at the end of each year, where t represents the number of years since the end of 1998. I always pay attention to start and ends of years on the SAT. I think it's just generally a good idea. And t is between 5 and 0. Y equals f of t is graphed in the ty plane, which the following is the best interpretation of the y-intercept of the graph in the context. All right, well, our y-intercept is going to be where t is 0. So we know that that would be at the end of 1998. And where that's 0, we know that 0.65 to the power of 0 is 1. So we're just going to have the initial value. Now, f of t is modeling the number of coupons the company sent. So that would mean that at the end of 1998, they had sent 8,000 coupons. So we have option A, minimum estimated number of coupons the company sent customers during 5 years was 1428. No. B, minimum estimated number of customers or of coupons the company sent to their customers during the 5 years was 8,000. No. C, estimated number of coupons the company sent to their customers at the end of 1998 was 1428. No, it should be 8,000. The estimated number of coupons the company sent to their customers at the end of 1998 was 8,000. That is correct. Moving on to question number 18 now. Or wait a minute. We just answered 17. Okay, yeah, here's 18. Okay. I was looking at my preview and it was showing 21 because I hadn't switched the side yet. There we go. Now I switched the side and now we see 18. All right, perfect. We got 18. Triangle XYZ is similar to triangle RST such that X, Y, and Z correspond to RST. So once again, just a quick check that I would always do is just X to R, Y to S, and then T to Z. In this case, that satisfies. So we know that this is going to be, just each letter corresponds to whatever order it is. So that's fine. Measure of Z is 20. 2XY equals RS. What is the measure of T? All right, well, these are similar triangles, which means that their angle measures, whatever angle measures correspond to each other are going to be the same. This piece of information right here does not matter at all, so you can ignore it. So angle measure Z, we know corresponds to angle measure T, thus angle measure T will also be 20 degrees. So our answer there is C. What they put here is just meant to throw you off. You just need to understand these triangles are similar, so corresponding angles be the same. All right, here's 19. One of the equations in a system of two linear equations, okay, so two linear equations, system has no solution. So no solution with two linear equations. I'll quickly go over what that means. Okay, we're asked which equation could be the second equation. All right. So if you have two linear equations, I'll just quickly draw this out in the XY plane, and there's no solution, they must have the same slope but different y-intercepts. That's the only way there can be no solution. So we're looking for same slope, different y-intercepts. We know our slope is 6 up here. If we look at all these, they're all in standard linear form. So once again, we can use m equals negative a over b. Now we are looking for actually, what's easier than using m equals negative a over b here is actually just to recognize we've got y here. So I'd actually just go ahead and convert these. So we'd have plus 6x plus 6x. Okay, so we know that these ones actually have the same slope. So we can actually just start here. So these ones have the same slope. Option A is just the same equation. So that would have infinitely many solutions. Now option B has got the same slope and a different y-intercept, which means that there will never be a solution. There are no solutions. So B would be our answer there. Okay, number 20 now. What is the area in square centimeters of a rectangle with a length of 34? So 34 is our length and a width of 29. Calculate the area. It's pretty easy. No sort of unit conversions at all that we have to do here either. So 29 times 34 is all we got to do here. So we'll just put it in our calculator, 29 times 34, and this can give us 986. All right, so that one's pretty easy there. We can go ahead and move on to 21. Okay, now's a great time to go ahead and share it with whoever your best friend is on Snapchat. Okay, here's 21. The solution to the given system of equations is xy. What's the value of x minus y? Obviously, you've been watching up to this point, so you know that I'm going to look to add, subtract, or substitute, or multiply this bottom equation to the top equation to get to the value of x minus y. Now, in this case, I don't really see any way I could do that. What I'd be looking at here is, since I got this 4x and a 15x, I would check if I can multiply this top one by 4, and that'd give me 16x, which I could subtract to get just 1x. But the problem is then I get rid of my y values. So I don't really see any way that I can do this with sort of a shortcut like plus or minus and multiplying. So what I'm actually going to have to do here is actually solve for x and y, which it'll take a little bit longer, but it's not that big of a deal. Right here, what I'd probably look to do is substitute in y equals 4x plus 1 for the value of y. So I'll go ahead and do that. So it'd be 4 times 4x. Let me rewrite that. It's a little bit messy. 4 times 4x plus 1 equals 15x minus 8. All right, from here, we're gonna go and distribute the 4 to the 4x into the 4 there. That's gonna give us 16x plus 4 is equal to 15x minus 8. From here, I'll subtract 15x from both sides, and I'll go ahead and subtract 4 from each side. That'll give me negative 12 is equal to x. Okay, so you see x is equal to negative 12. So I'll go ahead and write that up here. X equals negative 12. Now, some people would be tempted to go ahead and answer negative 12. Keep in mind that's wrong because you have to calculate the value of x minus y. So let's go ahead and solve for the value of y. We plug in, we're going to have y is equal to 4 times negative 12 plus 1. Note how I'm choosing the easier equation of the two to calculate for the value of y. Always make sure you pick the easier one. All right, in this case, that's going to be 4 times negative 12, 48, or negative 48 plus 1. That's going to be negative 47. And then from there, we have to do x minus y. So we know x is negative 12. So negative 12 minus negative 47 is the same as adding 47. Negative 12 plus 47 is 35, positive. So our answer there is positive 35. Moving on to number 22 now. How many distinct real solutions does a given equation have? How many distinct real solutions does a given equation have? Okay, so a couple ways that you could approach this one. One would be graphing, which is totally fine to do. I think my keyboard might be dead, so I'm actually not going to do that one. But if you wanted to graph this on Desmos, find how many zeros it has. That's honestly a really good way of doing it, and I wouldn't fault you at all. In fact, honestly, I think that is the best way to do it. So I'm going to try this. I don't know if my keyboard's working or not, but let's check. So I'm going to go ahead and show Desmos. Okay, and I'll talk about why I think it's better to use Desmos on this particular question than to write it out in a second once I'm done writing this. So we've got 5x squared. Okay, so 5x squared, and then plus 10x. Okay, and then plus 16. All right, now we got to find if that equals 0 anywhere. And first of all, we should check, make sure that we put in the equation incorrectly into Desmos, and we did. Now, as we can see, if I zoom out, it doesn't cross 0 anywhere. Okay, so the number of real solutions here is 0. And as you can see, that's pretty quick. And keep in mind, it takes me a while to type this in because I have a writing pad in front of me and my keyboard's like way off to the side. So it's pretty tough to type, but it's much easier for you to type on the actual digital SATs. So this would be much faster. Right, so now we get our answer of 0. So let's talk about why I think this is the way I recommend approaching questions where it's, there's a fair amount of coefficients here. Obviously, you could use the b squared minus 4ac method and see whatever that equals to. But I think that just checking on a graph is a smarter way to do this one. And there's really one simple reason why, and that's just there's less likely chance that you make a human error or a simple mistake. If you just put this on the graph, really it's just about, okay, there's only really two potential for mistakes. The first potential mistake is you misinput it into Desmos. And then the second potential mistake is just that you basically like misinterpret the graph somehow. Both of those I think are far less likely than you making a mistake doing mental math or inputting things in your calculator using b squared minus 4ac. So a question like this, I would 100% recommend that you just use Desmos. So yeah, I just want to talk about why I recommend you use Desmos for questions like that. That's why I would use it for that. That's why I recommend you do. You can choose sort of your personal preference, but I would strongly recommend using Desmos for questions like that. Question number 23. A certain park has an area of 11 million something square yards. What is the area in square miles of this park? Okay, anytime you see something underlined on the SAT, pay attention to it. In this case, it's because we're dealing with unit conversions, converting from square yards to square miles. Key thing to understand is that here, when they give us 1 mile is equal to 1760 yards, that's not converting square miles to square yards, that's just converting miles to yards. To convert square miles to square yards, we have to square that conversion, which means we have to take this 11,863,808, and we have to divide that by 1760 squared in order to get the number of square miles. Okay, so divide by 1760 squared. So let's go ahead and put this in our calculator and we'll see what we get. So we got 11,863,808, and then we got to divide that by 1760 squared. Okay, when we do that, we're gonna get 3.83, which we see as answer choice B. All right, moving on to question number 24 now. Question number 24. Okay, now's a great time to go ahead and like the video if you have not done that. Okay. Because if you're watching up till now, you haven't liked the video, low-key, kind of disrespectful. I would like the video by now if you haven't. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about 24. Which of the following equations represents a circle in the XY plane that intersects the Y-axis at exactly one point? Okay, circle questions and triangle questions, like I've always said, I recommend you draw them out. So let's go ahead and draw out first our XY plane. We are asked to represent a circle that intersects y-axis at exactly 1 point. Okay, so that would look something like, it doesn't matter how many times it crosses the x-axis, right? But ultimately we can only touch that y-axis once. We can't cross it. We can only touch it at 1 point. So it could look something like that, could something like this, could look something like this, right? But it's got to only touch that y-axis once. Okay, so from there, we've got, let's see, what does it say? Okay, so looking at our answer choices here, which is only an option. You can't just like do this one in your head. You have to look at the answer choices. So you've got 16 as the value of r squared for all, and that means your radius is going to be equal to the square root of 16, which you know is going to be 4. Well, if our radius is 4, and we're only touching our y-axis once, then we need to be either at, we need to either have a center at 4 or a center at -4, right? Because if our radius is 4 and we're anywhere that isn't -4 or 4, then we will cross over more than once. Okay, so we would cross that y-axis twice. So if we look at our answer choices, we know that based on the equation for a circle, our center point, our center point for x in all of these, this one would have a center point of 8, this one would have a center point of 8, this one would have a center point of 4, and this one would have one of 0. So D, B, and A would all cross either 0 times or twice. So our only answer here can be C. And if you were to quickly draw this out, right, it's at 9 up here, so we can draw the center right there, and it looks something like this. And as you can see, it would only cross that, it would only touch the y-axis at 1 point. Okay, so our answer there would be C. If we go on to number 25, triangles question. So we're probably going to be drawing it out because, like I said, we always want to draw out triangles and circles questions. Triangles ABC, DEF. Angles BE have a measure of, keep in mind that B and E are the similar triangles, it looks like. Angles C and F each have a measure of 41. Yeah, so we're dealing with a similar triangle. Because if B and E have the same measure, F and C have the same measure, then A and D must also have the same measure. Which additional piece of information is sufficient to determine whether triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF? All right, so this is where basically the definition of one word is going to make a lot of people get this wrong, and that word is the word congruent. The word congruent means that they are the exact same triangles. Okay, similar triangles. I'll quickly draw what a similar triangle would look like. I'll try to make this as good as I can in terms of a drawing. But a similar triangle means that they have the same angle measures. Okay, that's pretty much it. It just means they have the same angle measures. It doesn't mean they have the same side lengths. A congruent triangle is an identical triangle. It has the same angle measures and the same side lengths. So that being said, we know that in order for these to be congruent, we already know that they're similar because they all have all the same angle measures, but we would need to know more than that. So we can get rid of D. Okay, we don't need any more angle measures. We know they're all the same. We can't have the side length of just A to B because that doesn't tell us anything about if it's the same side length in this other triangle. Okay, we need the side length of two legs that are like the same or that are corresponding, two corresponding legs, right? So B, C, and EF are corresponding. Okay, so our answer there would be C. All right, moving on to 26. If you have not yet, you need to subscribe. If you're this far in the video and you have not subscribed, you absolutely need to. It is paramount that you subscribe at this point. All right, so going on to question number 26 here, we've got two data sets, it looks like. Let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. All right, that's a bit zoomed out, but we'll just leave it for now. Let me know if the comments, if this is too zoomed out for you guys to see well. So we got 26, the two data sets of 23 integers, each are summarized in the histograms shown. For each of the histograms, the first interval represents the frequency of integers greater than or equal to 10, but less than 20. Okay, so for each one, first interval, okay, so it's greater than or equal to 10, but less than 20. So that in this case, this would be like 10 to 19, this would be 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and so on. The second interval represents the frequency of integers greater than or equal to 20, but less than 30, and so on. What is the smallest possible difference between the mean of data set A and the mean of data set B? Okay, this is a little bit tricky. Smallest possible difference. So this one is pretty much a logic question. You just need to get this set up right, basically. The actual math I don't think is too difficult. So what is the smallest possible difference between the mean of data set A and the mean of data set B? So the part that's going to trip a lot of people up here is you don't actually have exact values for anything, really. You just have histograms. So that means the values fall somewhere between, for example, in this rectangle, the values fall somewhere between 50, and there are 7 of them, right? So that's what's going to trip people up here, is because they don't know what to do about the mean if they don't know the exact numbers. But that's why it's asking specifically for the smallest possible difference between the mean of data set A and the mean of data set B. And now some of you may say, first of all, let me talk about what you should look for before I talk about what people might get wrong. What you should look for in a question on like this is kind of similar to what you should look for when you're comparing any two data sets. And one of the main things that you should look for is the shape. As you can see, the shape of these two is the same. So that will likely be extremely helpful. So the shapes are the same. You should also look at what your Y and X axes are and sort of what the differences are. In this case, the Y and X axes are the same, but we notice that data set B is shifted to the left, by 10 points basically for each histogram, for each bar. So from there, remember what I said about how we have 20 to 29, 30 to 39. So because of that, first of all, which one has the greater mean? Let's talk about that first. This data set A must have the higher mean, right? Because it's got 20 instead of 10 there. And we know that it's not inclusive of 20 to 30, it's 20 to 29. So data set A must be larger. So why don't we start by calculating what the smallest value for data set A is? So let's go ahead and do that. So we see that we've got 3 values there, 4 values here, 7 values here, and 9 values there. So let's start by calculating smallest possible mean of data set A. So we are going to have 20 times 3 plus 30 times 4 plus, what's next? 40 times 7 plus, what is that? 50 times 9 plus 50 times 9. Okay, I ran out of room writing. I guess I got to write a little bit smaller. 30 times 4 plus 40 times 7 plus 50 times 9. Okay, so there we have our smallest possible mean for data set A. Now we need the largest possible mean for data set B, right? Because think about it. We need the smallest value of whatever has to be larger, and then we have to subtract whatever the biggest value we can get of whatever needs to be smaller in order to get the smallest difference, right? That difference between the two. So we need now our biggest possible mean for data set B. So that's going to be 19, 29, 39, and 49. Okay, so that's going to be minus 19 times 3 plus 29 times 4 plus 39 times 7 plus 49 times 9. All right, and then we got to subtract that, obviously. So let's go ahead and put this in our calculator. So obviously this question is a little bit fatiguing, but the actual math itself is fairly simple. It's really about getting it set up correctly and understanding the logic behind the question. So let's go ahead and type this out. So we got 20 times 3 plus 30 times 4 plus 40 times 7 plus 50 times 9. Enter. Okay, and the next one's going to be 19 times 3 plus 29 times 4 plus 39 times 7 plus 49 times 9. Okay, and keep in mind that we are looking for the difference between the means, actually. So since it's the difference between the means, okay, it's got to all get divided by the total number as well. So we can take the difference, we can do it this way. We'll first find the difference in total numbers, and then we'll divide it by, however many there are. Actually, I feel like that's a little bit confusing for you guys. Let me write it like this. Let me go divided by the total number, right? Which is going to be 3 plus 4, which is 7, plus 7, which is 14, plus 9, which will get us 23. Yeah, let me just recount. 3 plus 4, 7, 7 plus 7, 14, plus 9, 23. Okay, yeah, so that much divided by 23. And then minus this much divided by 23. And that'll give us our answer. Okay. So 910 is what I get for the sum. I then have to divide that by 3, or by 23, sorry. And that will give us 39.56. Okay, from there, I will then take the 887, which is the sum of data set B, and I got to divide that by 23. Okay, so now we get our difference. Okay, so when you put all of that in your calculator, you're going to end up getting a difference of 1. All right, so our difference between them is 1, so our answer there would be B. All right, moving on to number 27. Okay, good, it's on the same page. That's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Okay, 27, a right triangle has legs. Okay, so we're dealing with triangles, so we're going to draw it out. Right triangle's got legs. Legs 24 and 21, so 24 and 21. If the length of the hypotenuse in centimeters can be written in the form 3 times root d, where d is an integer, what is the value of d? All right, so let's first calculate what the hypotenuse is. We know that's going to be 24 squared plus 21 squared is going to equal c squared, and then we'll have to take the square root of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this in the calculator, and we're going to leave it underneath the square root since we know that we're going to have something under the square root. So let's just first calculate 24 squared plus 21 squared. That's going to give us 1017, so that's going to equal root 1017. Now from here, we need to extract a 3. So to do that, we can state that this is going to equal, well, first let's do 1017 divided by 9. And the reason we're dividing by 9 is because we know that 3 squared is 9. So if we have 9 underneath the square root, we can pull out a 3. All right, so we need to get 9 underneath the square root. So we're going to do 1017 over 9. That'll give us 113. So let's go ahead and rewrite root 1017 as root 9 times 113. Okay, and as you can see, that's the same. Now, what is also the same is root 9 times 113 is also equal to root 9 times root 113. Now root 9 we know is also equal to 3. So now we have 3 times root d, and d is 113. Okay, so we know our answer then has to be 113. Okay, so that one's not too difficult. It's mostly just about understanding how to pull out numbers from underneath the square root. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and consider sending a super thanks to help support my channel. Additionally, please drop a comment below letting me know what videos you want me to make in the future. And if you are looking for additional educational services that I offer, please check out my website, haydenrhodea.com.